Hi, and welcome back to Mondays with Marlo. Well, we've got him back. You've been asking, you've been begging. Dr. Oz, you are three-peat.
I'm so proud.
Yes, you are.
Thank you.
So Susie Orman and you are the ones that have only been back 3 times by popular demand.
Greatly honored.
You're
Thank you, ma'am.
absolutely. So we have, well, actually, what else do we need? Health and wealth, right? There's nothing else.
They're correlated, you know.
That's right. They are?
It turns out that 7 of the biggest 10 stressors in life are financial.
Oh, really?
And it's probably one of the simplest things to change in your life to live longer is deal with your financials. You know why? Because if you don't control your money, you don't control your future.
That's
You
right.
don't feel you control your future.
Right.
So lack of control of life, which financial insecurity causes, is a major cause of health issues.
Oh, that's so interesting. So what kind of health issue happens? I mean, you feel stressed or what? You get stomach aches, headaches? You don't get cancer or something,
Oh, no,
right?
you do get cancer. So
Oh,
here's
really?
what happens when you get stressed out, chronic stress. I'm not talking about an acute stress where you're making the final shot in a game
Right.
or trying to deal with some crisis that's short term.
But you lost all your money in the stock market,
For
or
example, or
something?
someone's divorcing you, or
Right.
you're going bankrupt, or whatever it might be. And illness, by the way, is a major reason we get bankrupt. So they do feed into each other a little bit. But when that stress happens in your life, cortisol, which is the main steroid hormone, goes up in the body. What does that hormone do? It does the exact same thing that chronic stress would have done 1,000 years ago. What was chronic stress 1,000 years ago? It was a famine, not having enough food.
Oh, yeah.
So your body responds as though you're starving. It turns on this chemical that forces you to eat food you don't even like, and lots of it. It's
Right.
not familiar, folks. I think it
Right,
does.
right.
And those hormones force the fat to go into your belly. So, Marlo, whenever I see someone walking around with a big belly, in my mind I'm thinking, not that they're jovial and happy, but they're stressed out. Santa
Yes.
Claus is stressed over getting the presents out on time.
Right.
So he eats the wrong kinds of foods. The hormones deposit in his belly, gets a
Right.
big belly, and that causes high blood pressure, high cholesterol, blood sugar problems, causes cancers, turns your hormones that mesh your libido up on. So you pay a price, a big price.
Wow, that's interesting. Okay, we have a record amount of questions, so we're going to go really faster because they kill me if I don't get them all in. This is from Elise 22. If you had to name just 3 things you'd recommend to improve a person's health, what would they be?
So let me give it to everybody real simply. Number 1, realize that food is sacred. So eating food that comes out of the ground, looking the way it looks when you eat it, that's number 1. Number 2 is physical activity. I go around the world where people live the longest, it's always because they have daily, vigorous physical activity.
They hike and they walk
Exactly.
far.
So you don't have to go work out. You literally have to include it in your day-to-day life.
Right.
Number 3 is you got to give your heart a reason to keep beating. You got to care about somebody. You got to look at them in the eyes and have them look you back and realize that the speckles in your eyes are dancing together.
Mm-hmm.
And when that happens, that connection that we crave so much in life gives us that third leg of longevity.
Oh, that's beautiful. I like that. This is from Bartino. What is the most surprising fact or statistic you've ever heard about the health of the American population? Was there anything that really shocked you?
Well, Bartino, I could say that it's 2/3 of us are obese or overweight, but that doesn't shock me because I can see that.
Right.
It's not that the average American has very little money in the bank, which is their name, which we all know that as well.
Right.
The statistic that shocks me the most, though, because I think it's the most underappreciated health crisis we have in America, is that less than half of us are sleeping well.
We have 1,000 questions about sleeping.
Now, I'm glad they do because lack of sleep, to be clear on this, it causes not just cognitive things where you're not quite as sharp nor as creative as you should be, and so you make dumb mistakes and you have accidents and the like, but you gain weight because the brain craves 4 things. It craves sleep, sex, food, and water. So you all can deal with the sex part out there, but if you don't sleep, then you're going to have more food and water.
I see.
And so we overeat. It also leads to hypertension. It leads to all kinds of related problems that age our body prematurely. And most importantly, when you sleep well, a good 8 hours a night, which is what most of us need, you make more growth hormone. Growth hormone is the vitality hormone, makes us feel young and look young.
So maybe we should just get right to it. People are not sleeping well. So we don't want to take sleeping pills.
No.
Melatonin doesn't work. I've tried it. A boring book doesn't work. So if you really can't sleep, and we've got a lot of insomniacs in here today, what do you think?
Well, can I go back to melatonin for a second?
Okay.
So it turns out melatonin doesn't work for most people because they don't use it right.
Okay.
The way you fall asleep, the way we've always fallen asleep, you look out there and you see the sun set. When the sun sets,
Right.
your brain, because it sees the longer rays of sun, will secrete more melatonin naturally. That melatonin makes you drowsy. So if you take a high dose of melatonin, it's not the same thing. It's going to be a very low dose, let's say 0.5 milligram, and you got to take it about 2 hours before bedtime.
A 0.5 milligram?
0.5 milligram.
I was told 3.
I know. If you take too much, it has the opposite effect.
Ah.
So you take 0.5 milligram of melatonin, and you got to give it a couple hours to get from your stomach into your brain. So give it 2 or 3 hours to work. So right after dinner, take 0.5 milligram of melatonin. It generally does help. But that's not the first stage. The first stage is sleep hygiene. And to all the questions, Bartino and many others who are asking questions like this, if you can just remember a couple basic things. The body sleeps better when it's cold. So start at 68 degrees, and if you sleep poorly, get colder and colder and colder. Absolutely essential. Number two is you got to make sure that you're not constrained. So the mattress has to be one that doesn't suck you into it.
Right.
And you also need to have loose-fitting clothing, or even better yet, Marlo, no clothing at all.
Right.
And then the third thing is you got to make sure that you have noise that's manageable. And the last thing that I hope people appreciate is light. When you see bright light late at night, it awakens the brain.
Right.
TV sets, computer screens, and the like. So for the last half hour, it doesn't have to be a boring book, but something that doesn't require you to look into a bright screen will let your body generally ramp down. 50%. I'll get one half of everyone out there who can hear my voice, who's not sleeping well, could sleep well just by doing those basic sleep hygiene steps.
Those are great tips.
Yeah.
Great tips. Thank you so much. Okay, this is from Ingrid C. In this country, there are so many people are on antidepressants. How do you feel about doctors prescribing them so casually? And aren't there better ways to combat the blues or mild depression than going right for a prescription?
It's a hugely important question
Yeah.
because we absolutely overprescribe antidepressants. Can I speak about what this really means? Because Ingrid's
Yes.
asking a question that
Thank
many
you,
of
Ingrid.
us...
This is a great question.
folks think that antidepressants make you less depressed. It turns out when large studies have been done and looking at all the data that's available, that they're marginally effective. And that usually what gets us out of depression is talking to each other. Or talking to a professional. Without that conversation taking place, the antidepressants serve as a painkiller. So all you're really doing, and again, if you're severely depressed, they do work because they reduce the pain enough that you can get going in life. But think of it, what is depression all about? People who do their most creative work when they're depressed, it turns out, because it's a call to action. When I'm depressed about something or someone's not feeling good about themselves, it's because they got to change something in their life. So if you go out there and change your life, then you'll get less depressed. But if instead you take a painkiller or an antidepressant, which is functioning that way, you're numbed to life.
Right.
So it doesn't bother you to be depressed. It doesn't deal with the primary issue. If you're not being treated well by the people you love, you got to talk to them about that.
Right.
Taking antidepressants so you tolerate that bad behavior isn't the right solution.
Right, right. So you're saying that instead of the pill, find out what it is that's really upsetting you and then talk that out with either the people that you're dealing with that are upsetting you or a doctor or someone. The talking is going to do more for you than anything else.
Or mom. And this is not just hokey advice. This has been looked at in large trials. And I can emphasize it's shocking to the medical field because we were all brought up thinking that these pills are hugely impactful. And so we give them very easily to patients who ask us for them. Listen, if you ask us for a pill, we're going to want to give you the pill. So be careful what you ask for.
Right.
What you really want to find out is this depression harmful to me? Because it can be. What's causing it? And something I can do about it short of taking a pill.
Right.
And one big point about medications in general, if you're on more than 6 pills, the chance of having a drug-drug interaction is 50%.
Right.
50%.
I know.
So it's not that the drug companies are trying to do bad things to you, but no one can predict how 6 pills are going to work in you.
Right, right, right.
And that includes over-the-counter pills too.
Right,
So be really cautious about getting new pills into your regimen. Push as hard as you can to get rid of the pills you're on. Try to keep that number below 6 at all times.
Right, good. This is from Lainey. What are your 5 favorite healthiest foods?
Well, my favorite foods are ones that have rich colors to them. They're the colors of the rainbow. So I love blueberries, brainberries. That's my morning breakfast in general. Number 2 is I love yogurt. Yogurt has probiotics in it. I like the Greek Fage yogurt, a little thicker.
Yeah.
And I use that with the blueberries, actually.
Great.
I love oatmeal. It's got a lot of fiber in it. Notice these are all breakfast foods for me.
Right.
Because breakfast is the most important way to keep your weight slim and to keep you alert for the rest of the day. I like steel-cut oatmeal. The slower the oatmeal cooks, the more fiber there is in there. It hasn't been crushed and all this, so therefore it'll come into your body slowly and it'll keep you satiated for most of the day.
Right.
I love eggs. You may be surprised as a heart surgeon that I like eggs.
But you don't, do you eat the yolks too?
The yolks too. Please don't go for that head fake. Yolks are not a problem. People do not get elevated cholesterol, with very rare exceptions, by eating cholesterol that's in the yolk. It does have cholesterol in it, but it doesn't cause your blood cholesterol to go up. Your body uses cholesterol to build new cells.
And isn't it fattening? Aren't yolks fattening? I mean, they look like lard.
Yeah, they're not that fattening. It's for me, because the issue isn't how much calories in it. It's the issue is how much nutrients in it. Let me just change everyone's perspective on this. Stop counting calories, count nutrients. The brain is not looking for calories. It's looking for nutrients. If you ate empty calories, French fries,
Right.
right? You're getting no nutrients and you're getting some calories. But
Right.
because you're getting no nutrients, the brain says, wait a minute, you didn't give me anything. Give me what I want.
Right.
If you eat an egg, you're getting calories, but you're getting nutrients. The brain says, oh, that felt really good. I don't want anything more from you. So that's why I love eggs. And then the final food, and I don't know why, but I just love radishes.
Really?
Yeah, they make me sneeze. I wonder who else has that problem.
Are they? Are they good for you? Are they healthy?
They're great for you. In fact, all the colorful fruits and vegetables are. I just like the taste of it. And again, let's redefine what we're talking about. Food's sacred.
Right.
What you really want to do is eat foods that you love, that happen to be good for you.
Right.
Not foods you got to force yourself to eat every single day.
So you're saying then, so your 5 favorites are what?
So I like blueberries. I like oatmeal. I like Greek fage yogurt. I like radishes. And what's the last one I picked?
Eggs.
And eggs.
Eggs.
And 4 of them
I
are
got
breakfast foods on purpose.
Okay, well, we got it now. What about granola?
Granola's got a lot of sugar in it.
Does it?
Yeah,
Okay.
I don't eat a lot of granola. Be very careful about adulterated foods. If the foods are naturally coming in the form that you're eating them in, they're almost always safe. The best food is one that does not have a food label. Because it doesn't require one.
This is from Cami. If you could perform a health miracle, what would it be? For example, I wish that French fries had the nutrition of carrots. So what would be your health miracle?
Actually, Tammy's pretty good on that. The number one fattening food in America is French fries.
Really?
By far, number one. And again, big study came out last year looking at like what makes us fat, what makes us thin. I'll shock you with one in a second. But number one was French fries. You expect that. Number two are potato chips. You expect that.
Right.
A real potato, a baked potato, is not a problem.
Really?
It's the fried version and the chip version, which are processed or filled with fat, that's
Right.
the problem. It turns out, this is a shocking one, that skim milk is more fattening than regular milk.
Wow. You heard it here from the
And
from
let
the
me
food guru.
explain why, because this will make sense when you understand why. If you take milk and take the fat out of it, what's
Right.
left? Sugar.
Oh, for God's
It
sake.
becomes a sugar drink.
Oh, my Lord.
So that's why I don't give anyone skim milk. Plus, it doesn't taste very good.
No, it doesn't.
So get 2% milk, enjoy it. It has a few extra calories in it, but more importantly, it'll be satiating, and you'll actually lose weight with it.
Oh, that's so interesting. This is from Trudy. What's the simple trick for getting adequate sleep?
The biggest mistake people make is they don't plan to sleep. They go to bed at an hour that does not allow them to get the 8 hours they need. And they make all kinds of excuses for it. They're watching their favorite show. They're catching up on something. They're too stressed out. They just make reasons up. I'm a heart surgeon. I fight for every second of sleep I can get because I train without getting any sleep. I know what it feels like to chronically be sleep deprived. So I'm in bed by 10:15, 10:30 every night because I get up around 5:30, 6 to go make the shows every day. Or go to the hospital because I still operate 1 day a week. Have you seen New York Med, by the way?
No.
New York Med's the new show we have on. It's not my show. They're just filming the hospital. I happen to be one of the surgeons there.
Oh, how
But I just
great.
love how it captures what it really feels like to be in a hospital. working.
When is this on?
It's on every Tuesday night at 10 o'clock on ABC.
Oh, wow.
At least on the East Coast. I think it's on the West Coast maybe at 9. But these producers did a great job. And they were filming us. They were in the walls like chameleons the whole
how
time.
great.
Catching on what was going on. And the show's done very well.
Oh, I can't wait
Yeah.
to see it now.
Yeah.
I didn't know about it.
But it's the reason I still practice. Because when you realize how cool it is to be able to help somebody in a time of need, and how wonderful these nurses are, and the orderlies, and the janitors, I mean, everyone who's involved in the process of healing someone is doing
Oh, that's
something
what I love
God's
about
work.
St. Jude. I love going to St.
Isn't it
Jude.
great? Yeah.
Oh, wow. To see kids getting better, wow. This is from Dave. What effects do fear and worry have on mental health and on the body? Well, you were saying before that it can make you sick, actually, to be worried about your finances, to be worried.
The most dangerous words in the English language are "if only."
Yeah.
And you're out there making excuses and trying to rethink the world. This is what it is. There's no such thing as mistakes. It was supposed to happen that way.
Uh-huh.
And so, you make a right turn and it ends up being the wrong turn, but maybe it was really the right turn. I mean,
Right.
all that thought process gets in your way. And if you just sit back and realize that the actual moment that we're in, this very second, while we're sitting here watching Marlo and your great program, everyone at AOL is just sitting there, just enjoying the moment. We're all happy.
Right.
But when we start thinking about yesterday or trying to get scared about tomorrow, it holds us back from enjoying the moment that we're all
Right,
given, the
yeah.
blessing. And you asked me a question that I didn't really answer earlier about the biggest wish I have for all Americans, and we're talking about potato chips
Right.
or French fries having the same caloric value as carrots. My biggest wish for everybody, and it actually is the number one reason I get when people really think about how they changed their life, is people realize how valuable they are, how sacred they really are.
Yeah.
The main reason we get obese in America is we lose self-esteem, especially women, because it's you that I got to focus on here. Guys don't do things that are good for them because they don't think about it. So
Right.
it's not on our radar screen. But women, you get it.
Right.
And women understand that's important, but they don't do it for themselves because they say, well, my husband comes first, my job comes first, the kids always come first.
Right.
It's a self-esteem issue.
Right.
If you realize how valuable you really are, you would never let anyone do that. So here's a big challenge for everybody. Let's take obesity as an example. It's my biggest wish. If someone that you love, that you really cared for, was putting in their mouth what you're putting in your mouth, what would you tell them? That's the question we got to ask each other. That's my biggest wish for health in America.
Right. Well, that's great. We can do that right away. That's something we can do.
While we're watching.
Tracy, what's a common health fear people have that, in your opinion, is unwarranted?
That aging is a natural process of life. It turns out aging is a side effect of life. And you're going to get older. You're going to look older, but you don't have to look old. You don't have to look frail and beaten up. And your goal shouldn't be plastic surgical procedures that make you look 50 years younger. You want to look really good for 50. And
Right.
everyone has the power to do that. Your real age, the physiologic age your body has, and you can learn that. There's a website called realage.com. Actually, you can calculate out how old your body thinks you are.
Oh, wow.
And so I'm 52. I just had my birthday. So if my real age, which happens to be in the low 40s, is accurate, and I think it is, I'm going to live 10 years longer than I would have lived. But more importantly, I'll feel 10 years younger now. So,
Right.
so I can still shoot the basket. I can
Right.
still run after the kids. I can still focus on things, still read things that I normally wouldn't have been able to grasp as quickly. Because as we get older, we actually get happier in general. And although we're not as quick, we're wiser.
Right.
So the facts we do remember are more valuably used.
And do we get happier as we get older because why?
It turns out that your peak happiness year is age 50.
Really?
Because in your 20s and 30s, you're working stuff out.
Right,
You're
right.
not quite happy because you got all these aspirations that are not working out, you're making mistakes.
Right.
By the time you get to 40, you get a little bit of equipoise.
Right.
And you can learn to forgive a little bit. And by the
Right.
time you get to 50, you've hopefully begun to work things out so you realize, you know what? This is the life I have, and it's actually pretty good.
Right.
No matter what's happened.
Right.
I mean, how many of us think back in our lives and say, God, that really stunk. Right? Most people say, well, that wasn't what I planned, but it actually worked out okay.
That's right.
I got to do this or that.
I know.
And now after 50, you start to have medical issues
Right.
that begin to
That's
arise.
right.
So they worry you.
Right.
So you end up peaking at 50 and then slowly, not fast, slowly going down a little bit.
Okay, we're going to try to go slow. This is from Connie. I've read a lot of different opinions on mammograms. Does every woman over 40 need a mammogram every year? I've read you can do it every other year. What's the truth?
A lot of debate over mammograms, not because they're not valuable, but because they're not as valuable as we think they are.
Uh-huh.
It's the best test we have.
Right.
And until we get better ones, which we are developing, it's still the test that you have to recommend. But the United States Task Force that looks at these studies has argued that women should not be bothering with mammograms until they're age 50.
Okay.
Because there are so many false positives. In other
Right.
words, you get a mammogram at 40, your breast is denser because you haven't gone through menopause yet. And because you have a denser breast, you end up suffering a little bit because the mammogram overreads something. Now a doctor's putting a needle in there, they're not sure, they do a biopsy.
right.
Now you're causing scars that are harder to read on future mammograms. So the basic rule of thumb is, get the mammogram, but don't overreact to the mammogram. Get an ultrasound afterwards if it's required to figure out if something's really there or not. Sometimes you have to get MRI scans even, but assess where you are. And always get your first one young so you have a baseline. You know that
Right.
you have this weird thing over there that was always there.
So when you say young, what are you saying, like 40?
By 40, you ought to get your first mammogram.
First one, right.
But I don't think it's essential to get it every year afterwards. This is really a personal discussion. What you have to say to yourself is, would I rather know everything about my breasts and maybe too much so I overreact?
Right.
Or am I going to do everything right in life and bank on the reality that there's no perfect test to figure it out now, and I'll wait till age 50?
So after 50, every year or every other year?
No,
That's the big controversy.
Yeah, there is I generally push people to do it every other year because they'll do it.
Uh-huh.
And I know it can be uncomfortable, and I don't think we pick up a lot of extra ones by doing it every year.
Uh-huh.
So I'm an every other year person.
Every other year.
But again, these are very personal decisions because you've got to figure out whether you're willing to do extra work that's sometimes not necessary. This is the problem we have with prostate cancer testing.
Right.
Right? We have a test that actually tells us a bit about the prostate, but not accurately enough to tell us if we have cancer of the prostate.
Right.
And all the tests that help us figure out if you've got cancer tend to overdo it a little bit.
Right.
And so you've got to always be willing to put the brakes on.
Right.
That's why I don't mind you getting a test. I mind you getting the test treated.
Right, that's right. Here's from Patty. What are tips for losing 5 to 10 pounds?
Easiest thing I'll tell you right now, and it always works. Cut the white foods out. Cut the white flour, white rice, white pasta, white sugar, all that white stuff that's devoid of nutrients.
Right. What about a white potato?
White potato, you will not lose or gain that much weight.
Okay.
But potatoes are a little bit yellowish.
Yeah.
I'm talking about processed white foods.
Right,
We all
okay.
know what they are. Those are the ones that really hurt.
Right.
And obesity does not come from eating fat. It comes from eating sugar. It comes from eating the simple carbohydrates because your body takes all those nutrients, and if it doesn't need them for energy, it converts them to fat, and sugar immediately becomes fat in your hips.
Right. This is from Eric. It seems like the consensus is that happiness is good for health. What are some tips you have for having a happier life?
The most important way to find happiness, I find, is to be grateful. Gratitude drives happiness. It always has. So when you begin to look for things that actually have brought you some grace, some luck, some good fortune, the things that just have made you content in your life, and you begin to count those out, it brings naturally with it happiness. And I think that most of us don't look for those things that we're grateful for. I mean, crazy. We're in the beautiful apartment here in Manhattan. Getting here could be a catastrophe.
Right.
It's crowded sometimes. I didn't happen to have any traffic today, which meant I had more time with my wife at lunch. I mean, these are small little itty bitty things,
Right.
but they make me grateful that I'm here, and which makes me happy.
Right.
And a lot of times we forget those things. We try to keep score in life. It's very hard to do that.
Right. It's nice to be grateful. I've been reading a lot about that. Is it better for a male, this is from Frank, is it better for a male to stand or sit while urinating after the age of 45?
I think you're better off to stand. And I'll tell you why you should stand, because it's better exercise.
Oh,
In fact,
really?
Not just when you're urinating, but at work, which when you shouldn't be urinating while you're at your desk. But people who are sit at work, this is a statistic for all of you. If you sit for an extra hour compared to another person, your mortality rate goes up 11%.
Oh my God.
So it's a big deal. So get every opportunity you have to stand, you ought to be taking advantage of it. And lots of questions. I thought Heather asked a question here. I think it's Heather. Missy did, about health tips for women over age 50. That's
Right.
a 6-paragraph response.
Well, I thought that's
But,
why
I know.
I
But
skipped
the
it.
most important little tip is weight-bearing exercise.
Because
Women, when they get past age 50, their ovaries stop making estrogen. It also stops making testosterone. And without testosterone, you don't build muscle mass. Without muscle mass, you get a little pooch down there,
Right,
and you begin
right.
to look frail.
Right.
So weight-bearing exercise. It could be yoga.
Right.
It could be lifting, Campbell soup cans.
Right.
Just do something that makes the muscles stay strong.
Right.
It also forces the bones to stay strong.
Good. Okay. Well, you want to run this here? It's fine with me.
No,
it's fine with me.
you're doing a good job.
How long? This is from Mike. How long does it take for one's lungs to heal after quitting smoking?
Michael B., good question. I'm glad you stopped smoking. I hope that's why you asked the question. It takes
Yeah.
about 10 years
Really?
for the lungs to completely get better and reduce most of the risk of lung cancer. But here's the good news. Within 2 weeks, 2 little bitty weeks of stopping cigarette smoking, your lungs will immediately get rid of the risks for things like pneumonia.
Oh.
Because we have little hairs in our lungs that they're called cilia, and they vibrate, and they're paralyzed by cigarettes. So when you stop smoking, they begin to work again. That's why I never operate on smokers. It sounds harsh, but the reason I don't operate on a smoker, besides the fact it's my one chance to get them to stop,
Right.
is that it paralyzes those hairs, so they get pneumonia after open heart surgery.
Oh my God.
The other thing to hammer home for cigarette smokers and people who are drinking and people who just are addicted to things they shouldn't be addicted to is don't hammer them for doing it. It just makes them feel worse. I'm so incompetent. I'm smoking. I can't get it. No one wants to smoke who's smoking over the age of 30. Everyone wants to stop.
So what do?
You tell them the simple message that I always try to tell people who want to stop but can't do it. You're worth it. If you can just care for yourself as much as we care about you, then you'll stop.
Yeah.
It's about love. It's not about hate or respect or anything else. It's just about the reality that we care about you.
Right.
If you cared about yourself, you'd never do that to yourself.
Right. Very good. This is from Trudy. What should you eat before working out, and how long before should you eat it?
It's nice to eat about half an hour or so before you start an exercise. It gets the food through the intestinal system. You want a light meal. It should be, in that case, rich in calories that you get access to. So proteins aren't great because it takes a long time for proteins.
Oh, really? I always have an egg before I work out. I have an egg,
Yeah.
blueberries, and some granola.
The blueberries and granola are fine. The egg is very difficult for your body to get access to. And protein's better right after the workout.
Right after the workout. Okay, great. This is from Marcy. I'm very frustrated. My father's 60, had a heart attack, has a stent. I can't get him to stop smoking or do anything about his health. I feel powerless. Can you suggest some tips to help your parents get healthy?
This is a big message for all of us who have loved ones who are doing things they shouldn't.
Right.
I'm going to say it real succinctly, Marcy, so you and everyone else can get this. People don't change what they do based on what they know. They change what they do based on how they feel. So your dad knows that smoking is bad for him, that he's a stent, and that he's at risk for heart attacks because he already had one. So he knows all that.
Right.
What he might not know is that he's not going to be there for his grandkids, your kids, if you have them. He's not going to see those kids graduate from college or go to get the marriages and do all the things that he wants to enjoy his life from. And he may not appreciate how much he's hurting you personally because he's your dad. He loves you. He cares about you. You care for him back. If he's not appreciating how much he's hurting you with this, he will never stop.
This is from Jan. Oh, I love this question. If you could pick 2 to 5 must-have supplements or vitamins, what would they be?
I'll tell you what I take.
What?
I think they're the essential ones. I take a multivitamin, but this is important. Low dose, folks. You're not taking pharmaceutical doses of vitamins.
Right.
So what does low dose mean? It means a dose of vitamins that you probably could have gotten from real food.
Right.
Now, ideally, you get them from real food, but it's hard to do that in America today.
Right.
A lot of folks around the world, not just here. The show's in 118 countries.
Right.
So I travel all summer long to these different countries. And I'm seeing what we eat in America go to each of these countries as well now.
Right.
But we have to remember that ideally we would have gotten it from those nutrients.
Are we the fattest ones?
Yes.
Oh, I knew it.
Number one.
Oh, no.
But the good news is we're actually able to do something about this in a meaningful way. Multivitamins will give you the nutrients that food would have given you,
Right.
but you don't want to take high doses of them because your body can't deal with high doses. So
Right.
vitamin A, for example, should be 3,500 units, not more than that.
Right.
Vitamin E could be 50 units, and just you need low doses of things.
What about D?
D is the one area that you can get a lot of from the sun. When you're out in the sun for 10, 15 minutes, you'll get 10,000 units of vitamin D.
Because I'm taking 2,000 a day.
It's fine.
Is that okay?
Yeah, because you could get it from the sun. You could have gotten a dose higher than that from the sun.
Right.
So most people I tell 1,000 units a day.
Right.
But some actually don't get enough of a level in their blood with that. So 2,000 is fine, and there's not going to be any overdose problems with 2,000
So
units
you're
a day.
saying A, E, D.
Yeah. The multivitamins are in the alphabet: A, B, C, D, and E. All five.
Uh-huh.
The multivitamin will have all five.
Right.
Then you want to take extra calcium and magnesium, which usually comes with some vitamin D.
Right.
You need calcium and magnesium for your bones and your muscles.
Right.
And then you also want to get some omega-3 fats. That's the most important supplement.
Right.
Omega-3 fats are important for brain function.
Right.
You get them from fish oils, ideally.
Right.
But you don't have to take a fish oil pill. A lot of people don't like that pill. It's too big. What you can do instead is get a vegetarian pill. It's called DHA omega-3s. They're itty bitty little pills. Fish don't make omega-3s, they eat them.
Yes.
So you can get it where the fish get it from algae. And so get the algae versions of DHA omega-3s. They're small pills, they don't taste bad, they're inexpensive, they're sustainable for the environment, there are no toxins in it.
Good.
All the good reasons.
Good. This is from Rachel. My doctor's always prescribing antibiotics and other prescriptions. Do you think it's wise to also have a homeopathic doctor to advise you?
We use a lot of homeopathy in our home. My wife's family has always used alternative healing approaches. Homeopathy is not well accepted by conventional doctors like me because we can't understand how these very tiny potions,
Right.
amounts of material can really have an impact. That
Right.
stated, things like arnica really have been effective in my
Right,
life.
right.
So I think it's reasonable to have a homeopathic doctor, but the big advice for everybody, you want to have a medicine cabinet of your top 10 medicinal cures that your family uses. For example, we have something called Bach flower remedy in our house.
Right.
And Bach flower remedy is an old therapy, but we give it to the kids when they're distraught about something, when
Right.
they're crying uncontrollably. And it's a spray. It's sort of fun to give
And
them.
rescue remedy.
Rescue remedy. That's exactly rescue remedy.
That's what I take.
We have bottles of rescue remedy at
Right,
home.
yeah.
Each kid gets their own.
Right.
Try it, rescue remedy.
This is Kathy H. I've read articles that say sex has real health benefits. Is that true? And what are they?
It's profoundly true. It's been looked at in both the Wales and in North Carolina, so we know that it works in different continents. The data is pretty clear. For men, if you go from having the average of one episode of sex a week to 2 episodes of sex a week, you increase your life expectancy by 3 years.
Wow.
Now, for women, it's not the amount, it's not the quantity, it's the quality. So for women, it's not how many times you have sex, but whether you had an orgasm or not. But they seem to have a similar benefit. And the mechanism is severalfold. One, you're revving the system.
Right.
2, you're connecting with someone in a very intimate way. I'm talking about loving sex with someone that you care about here. And you feel like you're a raindrop falling into the ocean of humanity, just connecting again with
Right.
people, which is again what we all crave.
Right.
Look, of all the messages I could ever give as a healer, that's the most important one. That when you're doing things, and sex is one of them that connects you to somebody else, that it's a sign that you're engaged in life. It's
Right.
probably the reason people live long. It's not because you're burning calories.
Right.
The average sexual encounter in America is 2.5 minutes long and burns 23 calories. So that's not what's making us live longer.
Yeah, that's a lousy lover, too.
It is, but that's what it is.
Okay, this is from Pamela. I have a girlfriend who had a baby and is devastated that her stomach is sticking out. She considered a tummy tuck. Could doctor explain the pros and cons of this type of surgery?
Tummy tuck is probably the most aggressive plastic surgical procedure. You are pulling down on the tissue around the muscle in your stomach, and it actually can hinder your breathing, which is why people have died after that procedure.
Oh, God.
It's a good procedure when done by someone who's competent.
Right.
I wouldn't run to the procedure. A lot of times doing the right kinds of belly exercises, which are not sit-ups. You have to do very specific exercises after you've had a baby to build that muscle up. All the muscles of the belly, because they're different ones.
Well, your wife's had 4 babies, so
She's had 4 children.
so you must be working on her, right?
Well,
Helping
yeah,
her?
what she does is she's very good. She tenses the muscles up in her stomach first before she does the sit-up. Keeps us that muscle tense all the time. And there are multiple muscles like a casing around the sausage that come together like this.
Right.
And she's never had a tummy tuck. Yes, it's going to bulge a little bit more than it was before you had the baby, but you get this miracle in return. For
Right,
it.
right.
So that trade-off to me is generally worth it. There are some cases where tummy tuck is such an important part of a woman's life that she wants to have it done. But definitely do it after you've done all your kids. And be thoughtful about the fact that it's major surgery.
Oh, that's right. It's after you can't have any other children after it. This is from Lisa. Is there a medication for lack of sex drive in men? My husband's testosterone is normal and is using Viagra, but he has no drive. What can we do? He's 54. Please.
So Lisa, here's the big issue. And this is an important one. lack of libido, women always blame themselves for, but it's almost never the women. It's usually something physical in the man. So she says, Lisa does, that her husband's testosterone is normal. There's no such thing as a normal testosterone level. That's like saying, what's a normal shoe size?
Right.
I mean, my shoe size is a 10 and a half. It wouldn't fit you,
Right.
but it's a normal shoe size.
Right,
Yours,
exactly.
what's your size you wear?
7.
7. That's normal too. It doesn't fit me. So it has to be the right amount of testosterone for you.
Right.
So maybe his testosterone levels need to be higher for it to work. The number one reason men lose libido is their big belly takes the testosterone made by the testicles and converts it to estrogen.
Oh, wow.
And so they lose testosterone that naturally we would be making. So losing belly fat is the number one thing I ask men to do to rebuild their libido.
But also, I've often heard you say that the greatest sex organ is between the ears.
Without question. Women are uniquely sexual. Women will have sex when they're not fertile anymore. They'll have sex when they're having their menstrual cycles.
Right.
No other species does that.
Right.
So women are sexually driven. It's why our brains are so large.
Right.
Our brains are large in order for us to connect
Right.
socially with each other, and sex is a big part of
So
that.
something could be happening that isn't just about physical things here.
Yes. So well said. So well said.
I'm getting my degree. This is from Kelly. I want to know if extreme stress can cause loss of memory, appetite, motor functions, and concentration, or could it be something more? Oh,
Well-
so she's wondering if stress is the reason for these things.
Well, memory, appetite, motor function, concentration, these are classic signs of someone who's stressed out.
Right.
The first thing you'd always do is make sure that stress is not causing it.
Right.
And then after you've dealt with the stress, through meditation, which is how I deal with it,
Right.
whatever trick you may have, then you can resort to looking for more profound reasons. Because, thyroid problems will cause this.
Right.
There are other medical issues. But before you're looking for medical problems, deal with the easy stuff. And a little tip for everyone to do, because I know we're almost done, go to the bathroom. Don't go to the bathroom, literally. Just go sit in the bathroom. Close the lid of the toilet, sit there. No one will bother you there.
Right.
And it gives you 5 minutes. 5 minutes to think about gratitude, which drives happiness. 5 minutes to just take a deep breath, the belly breathing that we always used to take when we were kids and we forget to take.
Right.
Deep breath in, push the belly out, the opposite of what you normally do. Exhale and suck your belly button back towards your spine. That deep belly breathing, which is the foundation of so many mystic religions, of yoga, of many spiritual practices, is profoundly important. If you just do that, take nothing away from our conversation today, you'll be a healthier person.
Do you recommend anything for memory or brain function in terms of vitamins, or because there's been so many through the years?
There are many things that I do recommend. It depends on what your problems are. Things like ginkgo biloba. There are different supplements that I sometimes give people if they're having big issues. But the number one by far is omega-3 fats. It's why I take them in my own life, because most of our brain is made up of omega-3 fats. We're fatheads.
So that helps us with our memory.
And it helps us deal with stress better. Women who have a child will often get depressed. You know why
Right,
that happens?
yeah.
Because their omega-3 levels plummet because the child wants it for its brain.
Oh, I see.
Your omega-3 levels go down, you get depressed because your brain cells can't talk to each other anymore.
So how much omega-3? Should you take like 3? I take 3 krills a day.
3 crores is fine. You want to take, men can take 2 grams, women 1 gram of fish oils, or if you take the vegetarian form, the DHA omega-3s, you can take 600 milligrams for men, 400 milligrams for women.
Okay, I know we're running out of time, but I'm so greedy when you're here. What role does sugar play in dementia, Alzheimer's, cancer?
Sugar's addictive. It's very addictive. And because it's addictive, I believe that it's going to be linked eventually to things like cancer. Certainly already it's linked to heart disease. The issue I have with sugar is not that a little sugar is a problem. It's that when you have a little sugar, it forces you to have more sugar. So a little tip for all the sugar addicts out there. If you're going to have a little sugar, remember the first bite is the best bite. They have a big glass of water afterwards, wash the taste out of your mouth, the hedonistic drive will disappear, you'll be good to go.
This is from Tina. What is the best way for a nursing mom to drop pounds, and is it safe for the baby?
Oh yes, you can drop pounds if you're nursing. In fact, the best way to drop pounds is to keep nursing because you
Oh,
lose
really?
you lose a lot more weight that way. Usually, the rule of thumb is for every day that you gained weight, that's how many days you should take to get rid of the weight. So you're pregnant for 9 months. Give yourself 9 months, but not more. There
Right.
are lots of women who had their oldest child is graduating from college, and they're complaining about his baby fat.
This is from Jerry. Is there a vitamin for hair? My 25-year-old daughter is losing her hair.
But the most important vitamin for hair is biotin. It's a B vitamin. It's found in eggs. You can get it from protein sources, but I usually give it as a supplement, as a B vitamin.
Biotin. But if you're having like an egg a day,
It'll give you the biotin that you need. If you're losing hair at a rapid rate, in addition to nutrient supplements, which are done as just a routine anyway, you want to check your thyroid function.
Thyroid.
Because it classically will cause hair loss. So will stress.
does emotional, this is from Elaine, emotional eating continues to be such a challenge. Any thoughts or tips on combating emotional eating?
Well, emotional eating is probably more important than the addictive eating so many of us face. But I think a lot of it is just making emotional eating hard to do. Automate your life so you don't have that junk near you. So in the morning when you get up, eat the same exact breakfast. Don't try to imagine what your snack's going to be. Have it at your desk.
Right.
Don't try to figure out lunch. Already have it ordered. So you
Right.
don't go in there at a time when you're emotionally ripe for making a mistake. The fewer decisions you make from your diet, the better off you are.
That's good. This is an interesting question. This is from Sherry. After the success of 50 Shades of Grey, I'm sure you've heard about this.
Did a show on it.
Did you?
Yes, it was actually a very popular
I
program.
was. We love it. It seems like a lot of my friends are using sex toys. Do you think this is good for a long-term relationship, or is it going to make regular sex boring?
No, I think it's a very wise move to use sex toys.
Oh, great.
And I think that 50 Shades of Grey, to me, worked because it was about honesty. I know it sounds crazy to say that, but it was about transparency and what a man and a woman want to do with each other.
Right.
And there's many women who need to stimulate the relationship. So use of these devices, if it brings you joy in your life, and of course both sides are agreeable to this,
Right.
it's something that spices up the relationship, and I'm all for it.
Oh, great. Maybe you're the real, what's his name, Christian Grey.
Oh.
Susan wants to know if there's any test besides a colonoscopy that you recommend one does after 50. Do you recommend colonoscopy?
Oh, for sure.
Okay.
Yeah, it changed my life for sure.
Okay, good.
Colonoscopy at age 50, thyroid function studies, check for your blood levels for anemia. Those are the key ones you want to test.
Okay, and Deborah wants to know, what do you recommend for hot flashes?
Well, there are lots of things for hot flashes, but the most important thing, simple, is get rid of saturated fats in your diet. It turns out women who are a bit thinner seem to have less problems with hot flashes because the fat doesn't seem to create the extra fluctuation in estrogen.
So get rid of, what did you say, fats?
Saturated fats.
Yeah.
I need to run.
Okay, thank you so much. Thank you so much, Dr. Oz, for being with us. We love you. We have thousands and thousands of questions. I'm so sorry. You're just too popular. You're too smart, too. Too smart.
Thank you for having
Thank
me.
you. We'll see you next time.